A long and glorious PFL season has all led to this moment for the heavyweights and the women's 145ers. This is the playoffs. It's win or go home. Win and advance to a championship opportunity, lose, and you got to wait until next year. These are the playoffs. And what do playoffs mean in mixed martial arts? Well, here's how it works in the Professional Fighters League. 10 fighters in each division, 6 different divisions. 2 regular season fights for each fighter where you can earn points. 3 points for a win, bonus points for a finish in any round. Then the top 4 fighters in each division make the playoffs. That's where we're at right now. You can advance through tomorrow's semifinal playoff bout. You have an opportunity to earn the $1 million that goes to each champion. And of course, the gold belt. Here's our main card. We'll start at 9 Eastern on ESPN. We'll simulcast it on Plus and on ESPN Deportes. 4 semifinals and a featherweight showcase featuring some promising rising talent. Take a look at the odds in case you're the wagering type. You can see, man, Larissa Pacheco is a huge favorite in her 3rd matchup against Elena Kolesnik. Sean O'Connell, Randy Couture, Kenny Florian here for the weigh-ins. And it's all about getting ready for these playoffs. The pressure ramps up in the semifinals because, as I said, Randy, it's win and advance to a $1 million opportunity. Lose, you got to go back to the drawing board for a whole year.
Yeah, there's a lot at stake here tonight. This is your opportunity to get a shot at that shiny new belt and $1 million check. It doesn't get any bigger than that. So all these fighters have ramped it up. They've got a great camp going into this, and I think they're all ready to go. We're going to see some amazing fights.
Kenny, let's talk about those camps, because it's not just one camp and then you win or you lose and you go back, you get chubby, you eat your Cheetos. You got to get right back into another camp. Stringing those together can be grueling.
Absolutely. That sounds delicious, though, by the way. But yeah, no, you're not just getting ready for that opponent that's in front of you. You have to deal with those injuries, and to do that, fight after fight, camp after camp, is not easy at all. And if they get through tomorrow, they still have one more camp to go. Just brutal.
All right, so playoff for the heavyweights, playoffs for the women's featherweights. Let's take a look at our heavyweight playoff picture. The 1 versus 4 matchup, very interesting. Denis Goltsov, he's a PFL veteran. This is actually his 4th trip to a semifinal. Jordan Heiderman, this is only his 2nd PFL fight and only the 8th pro fight in his career. Big experience gap there in the 1 versus 4 matchup. In the 2 versus 5, Reina Ferreira, Problema, we've seen so promising. Such explosive moments out of him. He'll take on Maurice Green, who earned his spot here with a strong performance in the first half of the regular season, and then an injury took the 4 seed out. In steps Maurice Green for another main event. All right, let's start with Reina Ferreira. Randy, I don't know if there's any heavyweight on planet Earth with more potential, but potential is sometimes a curse word in this sport.
Absolutely, and we've seen him sometimes show up and be like, who is going to beat this guy? Nobody. And other times he's less impressive. I think he's had a big camp change, and that's made a huge difference to him. American top team now in Florida. He's getting the workout partners he needs. Here you see him against Jamal Freeman, getting the finish. The one-legged takeoff, back flip. It doesn't get any more athletic. Matthias Scheffel with combinations, the length, the long-range weapons. And he's working on all of that, getting great coaches and great training partners now. That top team, he feels like it's going to make the difference, and this is his year.
Okay, let's talk about the matchup. He's always much bigger than his opponents. Right. Except tomorrow night.
That's right. Maurice Green is one of the few guys that can actually look into the eye of Reina Ferreira. He's very tall, he's rangy, and he's very dangerous in the clinch, has nasty knees. He knows exactly what he needs to do tomorrow night. He's very confident, not intimidated by Reina Ferreira in the least. He also has been training with a guy with a very long reach and also happens to be one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time in John Jones. So he feels he's very well trained and ready for tomorrow.
All right, I asked our very own Dan Hardy for a little bit more in-depth breakdown on what really makes Reina Ferreira so dangerous. Here's Dan.
The height and reach of Reina Ferreira is one of the things that makes him so intimidating. But not all big guys can fight like big men. But look at this. Look at the placement of the back foot, right? He's right on that regular season bar. Now you can see where his opponent's center line is. You can see how much distance there is, but look how much distance he covers with this kick. And even though the kick doesn't land as he throws it, he's penetrating the center line of his opponent. Now you can see his opponent's been forced to move back. He feels safe, but look where his foot was. Look how much distance he's covered with that limb. Now, the center line of his opponent is exactly where that foot is. So he's covered the distance that he needed to land the shot. His opponent's moved away, though. So he's going to rechamber this foot. He's going to place it right where his opponent's center line was on the first kick. That back foot's going to skip forward to reset it, and then that front foot is going to fire a second time. And now Jones has got nowhere to go. He's got no space to move back into, so he level changes straight onto that kick. And the management of range we saw against Sheffield. Beautiful right hand there, but that's the shot that we need to pay attention to. The most important thing to notice is that Sheffield's firing back, but look how short the punch lands. There's 6 or 7 inches between him and his opponent, but when Ferreira throws, he connects beautifully on the chin of his opponent. He's able to hit his opponent and they can't touch him. Managing that range is very, very intelligent and very good to see a big man be able to do.
All right, thanks for the breakdown, Dan. I think it's important to point out, Mateusz Sheffield is 6'3" plus. It's not like he's a short heavyweight. That's a big man that was still giving up a massive reach disadvantage to Renan Ferreira. But as you already mentioned, Kenny, that's not necessarily the case with Maurice Green. Ferreira 6'8", Green is 6'7". Does it look different tomorrow night?
I think it does, because, you know, you're so used to having that reach advantage, that length advantage against opponents who are, you know, right around that 6'3", 6'4" range. But that's not the case with Maurice Green, who stands at 6'7". So I think it could be more challenging for Ferreira in this one. He's never really faced someone that tall.
Okay, so that's our main event. Let's talk about the other half of the heavyweight bracket, and a guy in Denis Goltsov, who, as I already mentioned, has been to these playoffs, these semifinals, 4 times. He has yet to appear in a PFL championship bout. Is this the year?
Well, he's got 31 fights to his credit. 25 of those have been by finish, and 15 of those have been by KO. This guy started his his competitive combat sports in boxing. That's where that jab comes from. That's where that shot selection. He's great on the ground, his great submissions, but there you see that jab. Follows it with a big right hand. His footwork, his shot selection, his head movement makes him very, very difficult to deal with at 6'5", and a ton of experience as a 2-time Sambo world champion.
At the opposite end of the experience spectrum, but equally as dangerous, equally as athletic, is his opponent, Jordan Heiderman, who's only stepping into professional mixed martial arts for his 8th bout, but so far unblemished record.
Yeah, that's right. I think he can make up for some of that experience disadvantage by utilizing a lot of that athleticism that you've talked about. Grew up in Nebraska, wrestling, playing football, played at the D1 level at Indiana. So this is a guy who is not going to be intimidated at all by Goltsov. He understands the big challenge that's in front of him, but already coming off the knockout, he's coming in here very confident himself.
Heiderman had one opportunity to earn the points necessary to find himself in these playoffs. One chance, and he made good on it. Here he is with the opportunity of a lifetime, and that is how the heavyweight picture lays out. Now let's take a look at 145 on the women's side of things. Larissa Pacheco, last year's 155-pound women's champion. She has continued to look impressive. She took down the 1 seed with her 2 regular season victories. She'll face Elena Kolesnik for the 3rd time here inside the PFL, and Marina Mokhnakina. Strong performances in the regular season, good enough for the 2 spot. She'll take on Amber Leibrock, who's had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows in her regular season. That's going to be a very fascinating matchup. Let's talk about Larissa Pacheco. She's the 1 seed here. This woman is an absolute monster. I think deserves to be mentioned as best in the world in any weight class on the women's side of things.
No question about it. I couldn't agree more. And I think when you look at her overall skill set, the same can be said. You know, whether it's on the ground or on the feet, she is extremely dangerous. We saw that against Kayla Harrison, whether she was on her back, defending her guard, attacking with submissions. You know, that's when she became the 155-pound champion. She's not satisfied. She wants to be a champion at 145 pounds now, and she has dialed in that weight cut. We saw that against Leibrock, who was a tremendous striker. She looked like a juggernaut in that fight. She looks even better on the scale this time out. She's going to be very tough to stop.
I want to make a little note here. Larissa Pacheco, it took until the 3rd matchup for her to beat Kayla Harrison. Now let's talk about her opponent. Elena Kolesnik has faced Larissa Pacheco twice, so far been unsuccessful in the first 2 outings. How does she make sure it's different tomorrow night?
Wow, we've seen Kolesnik come from getting through 7 countries to get to the U.S. and start this journey a couple seasons ago. She's an amazing, emotional fighter. She started in striking. She's not afraid to step in the pocket. She's been working very diligently on her submission and the rest of her game. She knows she has to play this fight smarter. She wants to be the smarter athlete. Uses that range, smothers against the fence, takes some gas out of Larissa Pacheco, and avoid that power, especially early on. She believes she has what it takes to win for her, her family, and her country.
That's the 1 versus 4 in a co-main event. Let's talk about the 2 versus 3 matchup and Marina Mokhnatkina. This sport is always about evolution. It's always about continuing to improve and getting better. She understands that assignment. She has looked better every time inside the smart cage.
Yeah, absolutely. She already is a multiple-time Sambo world champion. She's been training a lot with her new husband, Sergey Spivak, one of the best heavyweights in the world. And we just see her continue to get better, whether it's with her striking, her control, her submission game. She continues to evolve, as you mentioned, and that's going to be critical here in this fight against Leibrock. You know, I think when you look at her overall game, she is well poised to maybe win it all.
Her opponent, Amber Leibrock, is a full 6 inches taller than she is. She's experienced the highest highs this season.
Yep.
And coming off a loss, she's experienced some lows. How does she bounce back and get a win?
Well, she's got to put all that in perspective, and I think that's the one thing she's managed to do. She said, this is too big of opportunity for me to feel sorrow, and there it is, the viral knockout. The low body kick set up the high kick. Those long-range weapons, both those hands and both those feet, are a very, very big problem for anybody at 6 feet tall. The big issue is the psychological. She's got that in place. This is way too big opportunity for her not to go out there and fire on all guns.
Well, you mentioned the psychological aspect of this. There's been some gamesmanship back and forth between the camps. Marina Mokhnatkina doesn't seem to want to give Leibrock any credit for that head kick, that highlight. For more on that, we'll send it over to Paige Van Zandt.
Thank you so much, guys. There is absolutely some animosity between these 2 fighters. Marina calling Amber's head kick knockout earlier this season a lucky shot has lit a fire underneath Amber.
Yeah, I had a really great, amazing, viral head kick. Wasn't lucky, so people can call it a lucky shot all they want. Was planned like that. Kick the body, she drops her hands, kick the head. Like, that's a technique right there, you know. And Larissa Pacheco is no slouch. I'm not the only person to be stopped by Larissa Pacheco in a short amount of time. So for people to sit here and not put respect on my name is really starting to get pretty tiresome. So I'm over the games, I'm over the smiles, I'm over all that. Like, I'm here to fight and I'm here to win and I'm here to take that $1 million.
You can see and hear the emotion in Amber going into this. I, similar, have a highlight head kick knockout on my resume in MMA, and for somebody to say that it was a lucky shot takes away all the skill and dedication that you put to your craft. So I think Amber is going to use that emotion and fuel her in this fight. Back to you, Sean.
Thank you, Paige. We will start the action with some showcase bouts on our early card. Louis Sutherland, Daquan Buckley. That's now a super heavyweight bout. Caitlin Neal and Myra Mazar will square off at 125 pounds. And then a heavyweight showcase bout between Danilo Marquez and Satoshi Ishii, who is a longtime PFL veteran. You can see Caitlin Neal, the only red corner favorite there. Tonight's all about the weigh-ins, and that means it's time to get these fighters on the scale. We'll start in the super heavyweight division. Louis Sutherland made the trip from across the pond to take on the former college football player, Daquan Buckley. Andy Shepard, take it away.
Yes, thank you, Sean. We are here in New York, New York. The city so nice, they named it twice. And we're here for 2 weeks of PFL playoff action. Tomorrow night, we have 8 athletes with an opportunity to earn their place in the championship, competing for the title and a cool $1 million apiece. On our early card, we've got a plethora of showcase action that you can catch from 7 p.m. Eastern live on ESPN+. Now, let's welcome the man who will oversee this evening's ceremonial weigh-ins, the president of fighter operations, Mr. Ray Sefo. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner from Dunmore, Pennsylvania, Daquan Buckley.
And there is Buckley, guy we've seen before in the PFL Challenger Series. Comes from a football background.
Official weight,
Amazing football player, 6,000 yards rushing and 84 touchdowns for the time he graduated high school. That's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in the red corner, fighting out of London, England, and representing Scotland, Louis Sutherland.
Louis Sutherland comes out of Tottenham, one of my favorite soccer teams, the Tottenham Hotspurs.
Official weight, 200.
Seen Louis in the Challenger Series, looked pretty impressive. Great striker, not afraid to get in there and mix it up. Won 4 of his first pro fights in first-round KOs.
Look at that, nose to nose, a little conversation back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, he was very upset about the weight miss. They got in each other's face there. Very intense.
Buckley did come in over the 265-pound.
Oh, look at that. Stepping in front of his frame.
Sutherland.
I try to do that to O'Connell every once in a while.
We'll move from there to a women's flyweight showcase. Caitlin Neal, Myra Mazar.
In the blue corner, fighting out of Sao Paulo, Brazil, Mayra Maza.
Myra is coming off a loss in our Challenger Series to the contract winner, Desiree Yanez, Dirty Des. She's a very well-rounded fighter from Brazil. She's a Sanda, 2-time national champion in Sanda, which is a very interesting style of martial arts.
And in the red corner, fighting out of Linden, Utah, Caitlin Neal.
And there is Caitlin Neal. We also saw her in PFL Challenger Series. Excellent athlete, very strong.
Official weight, 125 3/4 pounds.
Came from the cheerleading background. I was disappointed she didn't make the Dixie cheerleading there in St. George, and led herself to MMA to find that competitive spirit.
That'll take us to fight number 3 on the card tomorrow night. Heavyweight showcase, Danilo Marques and Satoshi Ishii looking to impress the bosses and make sure they've got a spot on next year's heavyweight roster.
In the blue corner, fighting out of Zagreb, Croatia, Satoshi Ishii.
There is the Olympic judo gold medalist. Just a tremendous
Official
athlete.
weight, 240
Coming in here,
1/4 pounds.
jacked. Been training a lot in Austin, Texas. Been training with one of the best jiu-jitsu instructors in the world, in John Danaher.
And in the red corner, fighting out of Sao Paulo, Brazil, Danilo Marques.
Danilo Marques started Taekwondo at 10 years old. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but he previously earned state championships in Sao Paulo in both BJJ and the blue belt division and boxing. A very, very well-rounded mixed martial artist.
That will take us to our ESPN main card. Of course, we'll simulcast it right here on ESPN Plus, and it'll also be on ESPN Deportes. This featherweight showcase will square off Nathan Kelly and Damian Nelson. Andy, back to you.
Yes, thank you, Sean. These next contests form our main card. You can catch that from 9 p.m. Eastern live on ESPN and ESPN Plus. The top 4 fights are semi-finals. But we begin with a special showcase bout. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, from Queens, New York, Damian Nelson.
Nelson's had quite a journey. Originally from Jamaica. He left Jamaica after high school to catch up with his mother, who left Jamaica when he was 8 years old. His father died at that time when he was out of high school, and he made his way to New York City and represents New York here, but still wanted to represent his home country and is interested in developing opportunities for people in Jamaica.
And in the red corner, fighting out of Dublin, Ireland, Nathan Kelly.
There's Nathan Kelly, a guy we've seen here in showcase bouts of the PFL, has looked phenomenal in every one of them. Saw him in Challenger Series as well. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. trains with John Kavanagh over at SBG Ireland. Recently sparred with Conor McGregor. Said he gained a lot from that experience. This should be a great fight.
Up next will be a playoff semifinal in the women's featherweight division. Marina Mokhnatkina, Amber Leibrock.
In the blue corner, fighting out of Hayward, California, Amber Leibrock.
Amber Leibrock grew up in Hayward, California, up in the area of Oakland. By the time she was 15, she was in gangs, dealing with her friends being shot and all of that. That led her to martial arts, cleaning up her life. 6 of her 7 career wins have been via stoppage. She's a very explosive, very long and rangy fighter.
And in the red corner, fighting out of Miami, Florida, Marina Mokhnatkina.
And there's Marina Mokhnatkina, who recently got married in July to Sergey Spivak, one of the best heavyweights in the world. And what they do on their honeymoon? Well, not much. They actually trained the next day after they got married. So very, very romantic. What a story.
Didn't say whether they were wearing clothes when they were training,
Yeah,
Kenny.
that's true.
And if your eyes didn't tell you this story with that face-off, here's the tail of the tape. Both of these women 35 years of age, but the real number to look at here, Marina Mokhnatkina is 5'6", Amber Leibrock a full 6 feet tall, and of course, that gives her the longer arms. But surprisingly, the leg reach advantage belongs to the shorter fighter, Marina Mokhnatkina. Randy, real quick, we've seen Amber getting a little bit spicy this week and reacting to some of the comments. Good thing or a bad thing with semifinals on the line?
Well, I think it can get in the way and force you to focus and be angry going into a fight, which is not a great place to be. I think she's put that in the right place. She's using it as motivation to go out and do her job and do what she trained to do.
Amber Leibrock is with Paige Van Zandt.
All right, Amber, we got to talk about your record. 6 of 7 wins have been by first round finish. You got to talk to me about that. Are you always looking to go out and put on a show? Are you always looking to finish, or is it just an attribute to your skill set?
Absolutely. I think nowadays, especially for the women, it's very important to be exciting. It's very important to go in there and put on a show. And for me, like, I want to finish, like you hear it all the time, we don't get paid by the hour. So make it quick, make it a quick night, cash that check and get home.
Absolutely. Now we got to talk a little bit about your opponent. It almost feels like the classic grappler versus striker matchup. What adjustments have you made to your camp to fight somebody and prepare for somebody like Marina?
Marina is a very skillful grappler. She's a very skillful opponent, not looking past that whatsoever. A lot of people don't know this, but I started grappling. Striking was not my first sport. It's not where I started, but this camp has given me the opportunity to get back to grappling. You know, it's nice and fun to knock people out, and, you know, once you kind of do it a few times, you get stuck on it, but, you know, I'm a grappler too. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a really good, you know, style for style, who's ever going to get their game plan off first, and it's going to be a great fight. We're going to steal the show for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, I don't doubt Amber Leibrock's ability to grapple, but the credentials here swing pretty heavily in the favor of Marina Mokhnatkina.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw that grappling on full display against the great Kayla Harrison. And she even had trouble finding sparring partners the last couple of weeks of her camp. All the women are like, you know what? No, thanks. I'm going to sit this one out. So we'll see.
Dan Hardy is standing by with Marina.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Marina Mokhnatkina. So face-off, you've sized your opponent up, you can see the height advantage. What's the first thing that went through your mind in the face-off?
Ты сейчас увидела своего соперника, ты увидела ее рост, ты почувствовала энергию. Какие твои первые впечатления?
Я смотрю в глаза соперника и вижу опасения, поэтому настрой боевой, ничего не меняется. Завтра будет очень жарко.
I look at my opponent's eyes, I see the fear. Tomorrow is going to be a very hot night.
So what can the fans expect for your game plan tomorrow? How are you going to approach this fight?
Что фанаты ожидают, какой твой будет план боя и что ты покажешь фанатам?
Я по-прежнему также буду напористой, ничего особо не меняла, просто буду делать свою работу.
I'm not changing anything. I'm going to do my work. I'm going to fight, and I'm going to show a good fight.
Thank you, Marina. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Marina. Thank you, Misha Stirkunov there, serving as interpreter. Up next, a playoff semifinal in the heavyweight division. Dennis Goltsov and Jordan Heiderman.
Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner from Norfolk, Nebraska, Jordan Heiderman.
And there is Heiderman, very big heavyweight, a guy who played football at Indiana University, transferred there as a junior, phenomenal athlete. 5 of his 7 wins have come by stoppage, 2 knockouts, 3 submissions.
And in the red corner, fighting out of St. Petersburg, Russia, Dennis Goltsov.
Goltsov has 31 victories to his credit. 15 of those have come by knockout, 10 by submission. He won the Combat Sambo World title at the 100-kilogram division. That's 220 pounds. And that was his 2nd straight victory. He's from St. Petersburg, Russia. Got his degree from the Baltic State Technical University in political science.
Worth noting that Dennis Goltsov is usually a lot bigger than his opponents, right? Usually a much better athlete. Might not be the case as we look at the tail of tape against Jordan Heiderman. Goltsov 33, Heiderman is 31. Dennis Goltsov is 2 inches taller. Heiderman weighed in a few pounds heavier. Both men have the 78-inch reach on the arms and an identical leg reach as well. All right, Jordan Heiderman, a dark horse here. Not to steal Martin Hamlin's nickname, but very little is known about what Heiderman is truly capable of.
Yeah, absolutely, and that can really be an advantage, especially early on in your career. And he said, even if he goes back and watches some of those fights, he said the last year, because I've been a part of the Skywalker team over in Nebraska, he said, I'm a completely different fighter. And even in his last fight here in the PFL, it was so short, it's hard to gain anything from that. So a lot of mystery surrounding Heiderman.
Jordan Heiderman is with Paige Van Zandt. Paige.
All right, Jordan, this is your first season with the PFL, and you're in the semifinals. How does it feel knowing that with a win tomorrow night, you are going to fight for $1 million?
You know, that's a life-changing opportunity, and I'm super excited. I'm blessed. You know, I'm ready to show the world I deserve to be here.
Absolutely. You're undefeated. Your last fight, you had a first-round victory, potentially fighting for $1 million. Talk to me about pressure. What fuels you more, the pressure of keeping that undefeated record or the pressure of potentially becoming a champion this early in your career?
All the pressure's on myself. You know, I strive to be better than I was yesterday, and I want to go out and give maximum effort every time, 100% in the octagon. So it's me versus me out there, you know, and I'm gonna show the world how good I am against Dennis.
Absolutely. Good luck tomorrow. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Paige. Thank you, Jordan. Let's talk about Dennis Goltsov. Yet to break through to an actual championship appearance.
3rd semifinal appearance here tonight, and man, a formidable opponent. Every time he steps out there, he does something interesting. Seeing some great submissions from him. That jab is world class, and now we know where that jab came from today. He said, "Oh, I started in boxing." Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the physical picture that he cuts a pretty imposing figure, but so does Jordan Heiderman. I love this matchup. Dennis Goltsov is standing by with Dan Hart.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Dennis Goltsov. So you have a huge experience advantage over your opponent. How does that play into the fight tomorrow night?
У тебя огромный экспириенс между твоим соперником. Как это выиграет, как это получится завтра?
Сложно сказать однозначно в тяжелом весе. И планы у всех могут быть свои, но в реальном бою получается так, как получается. И я думаю, что, судя по первым 10-15 секундам, будет понятно, кто как будет вести бой.
It's very hard to predict a heavyweight fight, how it's going to play out. But when we start fighting, within about 10-15 seconds, we're going to feel each other's energy, and we're gonna see where the fight goes from there.
Do you think it's quite obvious that he's going to try and close you down and use his grappling skills to get the win?
Тебе кажется, что он будет пытаться бороться и перевести бой на пол?
Ну, это не сильно принципиально, так как я сам борец и представляю нашу школу борьбы, поэтому для меня это не принципиально.
It's not necessarily the thing because I'm also a wrestler and a grappler myself, so I'll be ready for anything and I'll be fighting.
Good luck, my friend. Guys, back to you.
All right, that's our first heavyweight semifinal. That takes us to our co-main event. Women's featherweight semifinal. Larisa Pacheco, Elena Kolesnik.
Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, from Odessa, Ukraine, Elena Kolesnik.
Elena from Odessa, Ukraine is a two-time semifinalist in the PFL. She was on a 4-fight win streak. 4 of her last 5 have been victories.
3/4 pounds.
This time out, she wants to fight smarter, avoid that power of Larisa Pacheco. This is the 3rd time she's faced last year's champion, Larisa Pacheco.
And in the red corner, from Marituba, Brazil, Larisa Pacheco.
And there is the 2022 lightweight champion, Larisa Pacheco. Just has so many different skills, so much power, so much speed. Gonna look to try to make it another finish tomorrow night.
Take a look at our tail of the tape here. Larisa Pacheco, all that experience is still only 28 years of age. Elena Kolesnik is 32. Kolesnik is the taller fighter here. You can see she weighed in over the limit. We'll put that into context for you in just a second here, but reach advantage on the arms belongs to Pacheco. Reach advantage on the legs goes to Elena Kolesnik. All right, Randy, let's talk about what this means for Elena Kolesnik. She missed weight.
Yeah.
Which means that the margin of error, which is already so slim against somebody like Larisa Pacheco, is now virtually gone.
It literally puts her back up against the wall. Elena Kolesnik can't afford to lose a single round in this fight. And literally just about has to have a finish to get the nod and make it to the championship. So that's a tall order against the returning champ from last year.
Tough situation, but Elena Kolesnik feels she's up to the task and is standing by with Paige Van Zandt.
All right, Elena, you have fought your opponent twice already and came up short. But since then, you've had 2 back-to-back impressive victories. What has changed in your camp and your mindset, and how are you going to get it done to beat this opponent that you've lost to twice?
I made hard work with my coaches who sit right there, come to me to support for these weigh-ins, and I'm happy to see them. So we work really hard for this upcoming fight, and I just count hours till to see her again. We became pretty close, more than some of my family. Bye.
Absolutely, and I have to ask you, you've made this season about fighting for your country of Ukraine. I know you've gone through a lot of adversity to be here. There's a lot of decisions that you made to continue your fighting career and represent your country. Talk to me about that. How important is fighting and representing where you come from?
That's not correct question to me. I make a season for myself because I love what I'm doing. I'm born for this. But of course, during like 17 years, I represent my country and I keep going to make it. So yeah, a lot of Ukrainians will watch these fights. So I'm happy. I just count hours.
Absolutely. Good luck tomorrow. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Paige. Thank you, Elena. Now, for Larisa Pacheco, sometimes we see this, right? The onus is on you as a returning champion, although in a different weight class, and someone who's on a hot streak. You got to keep working and keep improving. We saw her on the scale. Physically, Larisa Pacheco looks great. What does she look like inside the smart cage tomorrow?
Yeah, she looked phenomenal. I think it's a sign of how she's going to look tomorrow. She's taking this very seriously. Obviously going down to 145 pounds takes tremendous commitment. You have to change everything about the way that you train, the way that you eat, and that is not easy. But clearly, she looks like she's in phenomenal shape. She said she would get better each time out on the scale. It looks like that's the case.
Dan Hardy's got Larisa Pacheco.
Thank you, guys. I'm here with Larisa Pacheco. So back in the playoffs, a familiar opponent, but you've made a prediction that this fight's going to last less than a minute. Why did you make that call?
de volta nos playoffs contra um oponente já familiar, mas você fez uma previsão de que essa luta vai durar menos de 1 minuto. O que faz você pensar isso?
Bom, o que faz eu pensar isso é muito trabalho duro. Eu cheguei aqui, bati o peso, eu fiz o que tinha prometido e agora eu vou chegar lá e acabar rápido com a luta para poder ir para casa.
Well, it makes me say and think this is a lot of hard work and just a feeling of accomplishment. Came out here, I did what I had to do. I made weight, extremely well prepared, and you guys will see a great performance tomorrow.
Champion last year, this time you're coming in at a different weight class, but every time we see you on the scales at 145, you look in better shape. You feel better at this weight class, surely.
Um peso diferente, você campeão ano passado de 70 quilos. Toda vez que a gente te viu na balança aqui esse ano, você está se parecendo cada vez melhor. Como é que você está se sentindo nesse peso novo? Sente que é a sua nova casa?
Sim, eu não gosto nada dele, mas eu tô cada vez melhor, mais ágil. Eu vejo como a minha performance melhorou, como o meu shape tem aparecido. Então, cada vez eu tô mais adaptada e assim, vai aparecer cada vez melhor ali em cima.
Yeah, I don't really like this weight class, but I do feel like I'm improving and I'm feeling better. My physique, I'm faster, I'm stronger as well. So I feel like you guys are going to see improvements after each performance.
And there's lots of conversation around you being one of the best female fighters in the world, no matter what weight class. Where do you see yourself compared to the rest of the fighters in your division?
Muita gente falando sobre, enfim, o quão dominante você é e você é, enfim, uma das melhores atletas femininas de todos os pesos. Onde é que você se posiciona entre as grandes?
Bom, eu acho que são eventos diferentes, são coisas diferentes, são momentos diferentes. Eu acho que eu sou nova pra caramba, tô chegando agora, tô mostrando uma ótima versatilidade no meu jogo, mostrando muito trabalho, muita performance, então não tem como me escalar numa posição dessa, mas acredito que estou no meio das melhores nesse momento.
Well, I've been putting on great performances. I don't like to really rank myself, but I feel like I'm definitely in the conversation.
Good luck tomorrow night. Back to you guys.
She doesn't like 145 pounds. Kenny Florian can relate. Yes. Playoff semifinal at heavyweight will serve as our main event. That'll be Renan Ferreira and Maurice Green.
Introducing first, in the blue corner, fighting out of Broadalbin, New York, Maurice Green.
There is the 6'7" Maurice Green. Coming in here very serious.
Official weight,
Been playing some mind games with Renan Ferreira. Curious to see how they stand toe-to-toe here. I think Maurice Green is going to try to get in his face. Watch for that.
And in the red corner, fighting out of Porangatu, Brazil, Renan Ferreira.
The Problema, and he's a 6'8" Problema is what he is. He's got two of the fastest knockouts in PFL history. Jones, 25 seconds, and Stuart Austin in 31 seconds. So you better strap him on tight when you step in there with this guy.
Little conversation happening here. Maurice Green. I'm not a lip reader. I don't know what he has to say, but neither man willing to make the first move and break eye contact. Ray Cepho making sure that things stay civil up on the stage for our weigh-ins. Here's our tail of the tape. Renan Ferreira, 33 years of age. Maurice Green is 37. You can see these are two massive individuals. 6'8" for Ferreira, 6'7" for Maurice Green. Both men close to that heavyweight limit of 265 pounds. Reach advantage does favor the Brazilian on both the arms and the legs. All right, let's talk about Maurice Green. Look, he had a very, very strong performance in his last outing against Ante Dilia. There were moments in that fight where you thought, oh, he's going to get the finish here. He's going to take over. Dilia ended up winning. We talked to Maurice Green, and he said, man, there was a time where I kind of let him stay on top of me when I still had the gas. I should have got up. You can tell it's eating at him.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also important for a fighter to be honest with themselves and understand that they made some mistakes and they're responsible for that. And I think that is how you rectify those mistakes and come back stronger. And it seems like Maurice Green has the right mindset and looked phenomenal up there on the scale.
And he's with Paige Van Zandt right now.
All right, Maurice. There seems to be a little bit of tension going on the stage. Tell me, can you tell me what you were saying to your opponent?
I was singing a song.
Can I ask what song?
Heaven or Hell by Meek Mill.
Absolutely, I love that song. Now, you've already had an extremely impressive career. Tell me the emotion where you know $1 million is on the line. You win tomorrow, you're gonna fight for $1 million in the PFL. How do you feel going into a different challenge?
Man, every fight I feel a little bit better. I mean, regardless of a win or a loss, I'm always learning. So, you know, I learned a lot from that loss. You know, I made a big mistake, a big error, but, you know, I got a second chance at life, and I'm not going to let them stop me from that.
That's amazing. And you've made a note to talk about your training partners and how you've prepared for this matchup. You've trained with people that he doesn't have the opportunity to train with. Talk about your teammates and your preparation.
Oh, I got the best team ever. Obviously, John Jones runs the show, but you know, he puts all of those coaches, all of those training partners, handpicks them all in the room, and we got a good group of guys that come in there week after week and work their ass off, and that's why I'm here. You know, I got a dedicated group of guys, small group that works their ass off, in addition to his strength coach, who's I've been working with since the beginning of the season, and we can tell the difference in my size. So,
awesome. Good luck tomorrow. Thank you. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Paige. Thanks, Maurice Green. On the other side, we've thrown out every superlative you can about the athleticism and the size of Renan Ferreira. But for the first time, at least that we've witnessed, he's got someone of equal physical stature standing across from him.
Yeah, he's definitely got somebody his own size, which is a rarity in this sport. He's had some great partners that are his size too to simulate Maurice Green and push him to that limit. Also with a new coaching staff, working on his grappling, working on his wrestling. He said he's shoring up a lot of those other pieces of his game that he hadn't had the opportunity to work at before.
Renan Ferreira is with Dan Hardy.
Thank you, guys. I'm here with Renan Ferreira. So there's been tension all week between you two guys building up to this fight. You don't like one another, but that face-off was quiet intensity. Tell me what feeling you got off him.
Tensão, né, entre vocês dois. Vocês claramente não gostam um do outro. O face-off aqui agora foi, enfim, teve um atrito ali. O que você pensa sobre ele, esse último momento?
Ah, não é que a gente não se gosta, mas esse é um momento sério, é um momento que eu tô super conectado com a luta e não é momento de brincadeira, então essa encarada ali tem que ser dessa forma mesmo.
It's not even about not liking each other. It's just it's a serious moment. It's a moment of concentration. We both really want this, so I'm just focused on the fight.
You must have pictured the fight in your head many, many times. What's your feeling of how the fight's going to end? What's your prediction?
Você deve estar pensando muito, enfim, na luta nesse momento, né? Qual é a sua previsão de como essa luta termina?
Ah, então, o meu estilo é sempre agressivo, sempre para cima, vou buscar o nocaute a todo momento.
Well, you guys know me. I'm always aggressive. I'm always moving forward. I'm going to be hunting for that knockout every single moment of the fight.
Good luck, my friend. Very excited to watch you fight. Back to you guys.
All right, that's it for the weigh-ins. All the fighters on the scale. Our semifinals are set. Remember, win, advance to a championship opportunity. Lose, you got to hit the reset button. You got to go back to the drawing board until at least next season. This is, for most of these fighters, the biggest opportunity of their mixed martial arts career. Heavyweights and women's featherweights with the chance of a lifetime. Tomorrow night, we will start things at 6:30 Eastern right here at the Mecca, Madison Square Garden. Some showcase action. Fighters looking to impress the bosses. Earn a future invitation to a PFL regular season. Tickets still available. PFLMMA.com. Our main card begins at 9 Eastern on ESPN. We'll simulcast it on ESPN+. I will be there. I'm Sean O'Connell. Kenny Florian's going to be there. Randy will sure also be there. Dan Hardy, Paige Van Zandt. All the cool kids, be there with us.